So far in our examples, we've used animation sequences from Unreal Engine itself, some of the default mannequin ones, and we've used animation sequences from Mixamo, both raw when we did the blend space and converted with Mixamo converters so that they had root motion components added to them when we did our motion matching. A couple of good resources for Unreal Ready animations are the Lyra Starter Project. There's many good animations in here, and they're all Unreal Ready because it's an Unreal project ready to go. This game animation has 500 animation sequences in it, so all kinds of different animation sequences in it, and it's the newest release, having been released June of this year. And another good source is this advanced locomotion system, and these are all Unreal Engine ready compatible animation sequences that you can use in your project. Now, the animations have to be matched to our skeletons. So they have to be retargeted to our skeletons. And retargeting used to be kind of a complex situation, but they now have a very nice one-click retargeting where you import the animation on its existing skeleton, choose your two skeletons, and it remaps the animations from the existing skeleton to your new skeleton and saves a copy with your new skeleton. So for this example, I have taken our motion matching project, taken the animations, a small group of the animations from the Lyra project, just these sort of walking locomotion ones, and my asset migrated them into our motion matching project. So that's where we're at here, is we have under content characters, we have this new one because this is part of the Lyra, is heroes, mannequin, and then animation. So when I chose animation locomotion folder and all of these unarmed, meaning no, not carrying weapons, animations from the Lyra project, this is all the subcomponents associated assets that came with it. Now, I've imported these, I've not actually used them, but if I go to play right now, I'm going to get one small error out of the way. If I go to play, it's going to show it to me. We will address it when it pops up. These assets all use a footstep modifier, and depending on the setup, it'll sometimes pop up an error, and we just disable it, a couple of aspects of it for the time being. And if we choose to implement the footstep modifier, we can do that later on when we talk more about advanced options. So these animations are applied to the default character for the Lyra game, and we need to retarget them for our character, and we need to save them in a directory for our character. So I'm simply going to go to characters, doozy, and we have one for animations, and that's where we put our Mixamo animations. So let's create a new folder and call it animation Lyra retargeted. So this is where we're going to put our copied or exported or retargeted animations. So back under heroes, mannequin, animations, locomotion, unarmed, we're actually going to select all of these animations. We're going to simply right click on them and say retarget animations. It comes up with the existing skeleton on our character, and we're going to choose the skeleton we want to map them to, which is doozy in our case. And it quickly matches a bunch of them, and we're just going to highlight the ones here that all successfully converted. So I'm just going to grab this bunch in the middle. You can pick and choose more, and you could try and individually fix them, but we have more than enough to do what we want to do with these ones. So with these selected, we're going to say export animations, and we're going to navigate to that doozy animation Lyra retarget folder and say export. We can choose to overwrite them or not. There's none there, so I'm just going to say export. And it's going to export to 220 or so animations that I've selected into this folder. So we're at characters, doozy, animations, and close this for a second. We'll do a save all here. Okay, so let's open our characters, doozy, animations, Lyra retargeted, and you can see we now have a variety of animations. From the Lyra set mapped to our doozy character. And there's quite a variety of them here. Crouched and looking around, all kinds of different ones. So what do we do with these? Well, one of the things we can do is create a new blend space or pose search database and use that instead of the existing one we had. So the existing one we have, not too bad. He runs forward and backwards. He's got some animations, you know, sideways walking or strafing, a little bit of a couple of different options. But let's create a new one using these new animations. So we're simply going to come into our motion matching, go animation, motion matching, create a new pose search database, base it on our PSS that we had, and let's just call it PSD underscore doozy Lyra. We're going to open it up, dock it at the top. Now we can go through and manually pick and choose which ones we want. We can pick all of them. Let's try all of them. Hopefully it won't crash on us. We're going to add them all here. And if I just highlight all of them, you can see this is all the variety of the animations that the system could choose from. We know we're not going to use some. We're not implementing a few things like crouching in this demonstration, so I could take all the crouch ones out. And we're also not using the turn assets necessarily, so we're just going to take those out too. So that leaves us with quite a few assets in here. And let's maybe also try taking out the jump assets. Maybe we'll do a Lyra jump as well. Okay, so with this set, we've got quite a handful of options. So we're going to save it. So this is PSD doozy Lyra. So let's go into our player's animation blueprint. And in the animation blueprint, we can choose from doozy to doozy Lyra, compile it, and you can see that it's now got a slightly different idle pose. And when we run here, we now have some different animations. So a little more interesting character option. We still don't have a nice jump, so let's actually go and do a jump based on these animations. So I'm going to close pose search database doozy Lyra, and we're going to create a new one in motion tracking, animation, motion matching, pose search database, base it on our PSS of doozy, and this is going to be database underscore doozy Lyra jump. Opening this up, we're going to add our doozy Lyra retargeted, and we can search through all of these and find the jump ones. I'm going to do it shortcut with the jump to filter, and we're just going to add the jumping ones. So now we have our jumping animations that we're going to use. So I'm going to do a save. So now I have PSD Doozy Lyra jump. So now I'd like to be able to switch back and forth between when the player is jumping, play the jumping animation, and when he's running, play the other animations through the motion matching. So we're going to need another motion matching node, and it's going to play the Lyra jump animation. And now we need to switch between the two based on whether the player's jumping or not. And you may recall we had an is falling component to the character movement. So I'm going to drag out from here and do a get is falling. And it's not a get, it's just a option in there. So we'll just do is falling. And we've now gotten this Boolean for is falling, and we're going to promote it to a variable. We want to make sure it gets executed. Determines if character jumping and sets is in air. Actually, we haven't named it yet, so let's do that. Okay, we should have named this variable something more descriptive. So we'll use is in air question mark as a Boolean for whether the character is jumping or not. And we could throw in a little debug just for the fun of it here. Let's actually do a branch. So it's the branch condition, and if we wanted to, we could just print jumping. So just a little debug option to see what's going on here. We compile this and save. Running, and when we jump, you can see the character's in the air, but we are getting the... So it's firing this. So I'm going to break this link. We don't need that showing up all the time. But that was a quick little debug for us. So now over in the animation graph, we're actually going to blend between these two motion matching poses based on the Boolean. So we're going to right click and say blend, I think we do blend Boolean. Yeah, blend poses by bool. We're going to drag out the is in air, just so I don't have to drag out this is in air. When the character's in the air, this value is true. So I'm going to actually negate it. We're going to do a not bool to invert it. Drive that into the activate value. Take the false pose, the true pose, and source, and compile it. And our character appears no different right now because the character's not in the air. So this gets inverted and it should be playing our true selection. So I'm going to compile and save it. In game, so you can see now when the character jumps, he's got his arms out. So he's got a little bit of the animations from the Lyra set incorporated in our character. So this implements our jump animation. The top part looks after the main components for us, but this is doing our jumping animation piece, and it's based on the is in air variable Boolean. So we took some animations from the Lyra project, asset migrated them into our motion matching project. Then we retargeted those Lyra ones that were on the Lyra character and targeted them to our doozy character with a single click. It remapped all those animations. We created a new blend space pose search database called PS1D Doozy Lyra, used a number of the locomotion animations for walking forward, backwards, and sideways, took those, put them in a new pose search database, and then in our characters animation graph, we simply changed from the original one that had the Mixamo animations in it to using the one that had the Lyra animations in it. And we now had a more fluid character movement process. We went a step further and added jumping, and we used the is in air quality, or the falling boolean, from the character movement component to determine when the character was off the ground, jumping or falling, and then chose to play create a new pose search database with the jumping assets from the Lyra and put those in here. And then we selected back and forth based on that boolean. So a very quick and easy way to retarget them. Once you have your animation, it can be applied to your skeleton. And remember that the animations need to be applied or targeted to your skeleton so that the bone shapes and sizes are matched properly to your skeleton.